Okay, hopping back into the gold price, we saw yesterday, or I'm sorry, this morning actually at 6 a.m., that we did SFP this previous high that we put in, and this was a very nice Model 1 and Model 2 distribution. We had a lower time frame Model 1 and a higher time frame Model 2 distribution here. So what I'm kind of looking at, we had this range here, and then we had the initiation out of this range, and then we came back to mitigate this range here. So I kind of want to see the same thing happen here, where we have this range and we have the initiation out of this range, and we come back to mitigate this range, and then a continuation. So that's an RIMC play. This is an RIMC setup here. And what we are doing currently, we can see that this high was put in for this range. So let's draw this out. We would put the range in here. This was your low that you put in after the distribution. Then we put in the high, and then we touched the midpoint after putting in that high. So we have point A, point B, and now point C. So this has confirmed the range. We SFP'd this internal high. So we will move our range to the new high. And now this is our range. Right now we are back testing this range high at this order block, which is a 2-hour order block. I do also have this order block here, which I really like because it coincides with the 0.5 of this previous range. However, if we were to take in account this whole entire leg of structure, this would be the 0.5 of the entire range. So let's take a look at volume here on this leg up. So we have the point of control inside this order block. And let's take it back from the high. Still inside that order block. And let's take it from the low. Now for this entire group of price action, you have the point of control on this order block. So let's do just the downward leg of this structure here. See where the most volume was. Again, we have the point of control right here, which it's getting hit currently. And let's also take a pull from the most recent low to the high. Again, we have the point of control here. So I really like that zone. Let's put my magnet on. Let's pull the fib of this area here. And the pink pocket is right on this order block. So we're going to set an alarm here to look for a long in this area. I really like that zone. However, coming into here, we want to potentially also look for a long from this zone, because if we're really bullish, we don't really necessarily have to come back down to this zone, because this order block did something, as in it broke structure. It was the order block, it was the level of demand, the buying pressure that busted out of this range. So this actually did something significant. Let's see. Let's go down to the 15 minute. So we're coming into this extremely bearish. with no structure in the 15. Let's go to the 5. The 5 doesn't really have any good structure to work with either. So I'm going to need price action to create some structure before I even think about getting into a trade at this point. Because honestly, my bias would be leaning towards doing something like this and then going down to here. Now, with that said, if we break this low, you're going to be breaking 30-minute structure. For me, personally, the way I map out structure, this is not a 1 hour structure high and low because we only have one bearish candle down. And if we go to the 4 hour, of course, this was your structure points on the 4 hour, or if you pull it from the low to the high, it would look more like this. And then you got your high put in. So this is your most recent 4 hour high and most recent 4 hour low. So for the 4 hour to maintain bullish structure, we can still come all the way down here and mitigate this order block and still maintain bullish structure. But you also have to keep an eye out on this liquidity curve. So we will have resting stops here along the way. Everyone that's long these areas have their stops or trailing stops in this area. So we have to keep that in mind. When we get down here, it's not going to be an aggressive long. I'm not going to just pull the trigger as soon as we hit this. I want to see some kind of sign of strength coming out of this. So maybe on a 15-minute, you might want to see something like this. Come down in here, you do back test, come and back test that range. And it could overshoot this level and take this liquidity sitting right here, which would be really, really nice. Or it could just simply hit the block itself. And then we create a nice Model 2 or Model 3 inside this block. So those ideas are what I'm watching out for currently on gold. Of course, I'm not really looking for any shorts on gold. There's nothing that really interests me as far as a short. Now, if we were to break this low, I would entertain a short. So we would have to do something like this here. And we start breaking that low. Then I would look for a short around this area right here on a pullback.